Hope you had a great Christmas and a happy new year. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and welcome to my weekly vlog for December the 28th, 2020. And it is day 292 of COVID isolation. Hard to believe we're almost to the end of the year. Thank goodness. And I'm sure you know what I mean by that. So let's jump right into things. Behind me is a work in progress. This is my grandmother's quilt, the one that I'm trying to reproduce in colors that I like. And I've got the top, well, it's not really half finished because there's got to be borders put on it yet too. But the basic center part of the quilt is done. This is half of it. Now I start going the other way down below. It's going to be a very large quilt when I'm finished, but that's okay because I'm keeping it true, or as true as I can, to my grandmother's dimensions. And I think it's working out quite nicely. So I am enjoying this project and the technique I created to reproduce it. I did not do it, as you know, exactly the way my grandmother did it. I'm using 21st century technology on this one. And I'm going to talk more about that in upcoming episodes of The Idiot Quilter. So it's coming along nicely. I'm very pleased with it so far. Okay, so that takes us right into YouTube channel of the week. And this is a 3D printing channel. But you know, if you're thinking about getting a 3D printer, or you want to know more about what you can do with a 3D printer, then there's all kinds of YouTube channels that you can turn to for reference, and I've been doing that a lot. So here's one that I have found really good. As you probably know already, I have recently purchased a 3D printer and I'm really into it. But I have discovered that there's a lot of help online on YouTube for newbies like myself that have just got their first 3D printer. So if you're one of those people, and if you're sitting on the fence as to whether or not you should invest in a 3D printer, you might want to check out Maker's Muse. They show you a lot of really interesting things that you can use your 3D printer for, and a lot of those things are not just artworks or figurines, they are practical everyday items. Also, they do reviews on new machines that are out there and tell you the pluses and the minuses of buying different models of 3D printers. So this is a really great YouTube channel to check out if you need some background information that will help you make your decision as to whether or not you want to enter the wonderful world of 3D printing. So as always, you will find in the show notes the link to that particular YouTube channel, and you'll also find a link for Stephen and Walter Live. Have to apologize for a little bit of clickbait. Okay, clickbait, you know, is when someone puts something in a title to get you to watch their YouTube video, and it really has nothing to do with that title. Well, I don't do that on purpose. I really did intend to talk about the topic, which was having the after Christmas blues. We never got to it, which is not unusual on Stephen and Walter Live because we often go off on tangents, and that's okay. As I've said before, it is an interactive thing. We go with the flow. People make comments as we're going in the chat, and we just pick up on those. So we did not get to that title. However, I do intend to get to it next week on Stephen and Walter Live. So the link for that is below. There's also a link for my latest episode of The Idiot Quilter, where I show you in that one how I created what is commonly referred to, and I don't like the term, but it is commonly referred to as a vision board. So I show you how I constructed that and some other things I talk about in that as well. And I have the link to the book of the week, which has something to do with Tim Holtz. So let's, one more thing that's really, really important. There is a link for our next craft and chat retreat. If you remember, we've changed the format of that. So now it's just a live Zoom where we get together and work on whatever and just talk about what we're working on and just generally chit chat. And sometimes we have silence, as well as we all work on different things. It's a way of getting away from everything else that's going on right now, catching up on something that you enjoy doing, and just relaxing. I do not record the session because, quite frankly, I think it would be boring for people who weren't involved with it to actually watch it. And again, if I'm recording it, then people feel that they feel a little bit more apprehensive, and that's not the nature of the Craft and Chat Retreat. It's there to have fun, relax, do something you really enjoy amongst other people who are doing the same thing. So that is coming up, not this week, but the next week. But I've put the link already up in preparation. It'll be on Wednesday, January the 6th, starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You can come and go as you please. Last time we ran till almost 4 o'clock. That wasn't my intention, but I go with the flow. So I'm giving you advanced notification of that, and I will do that again in Stephen and Walter Live this coming Sunday and on next week's vlog as well. So there'll be lots of opportunity for you to find the link and join in if you're interested. And please do. All are welcome. And it doesn't matter what craft you're doing. Okay. So that takes us to what's pissing me off this week. Okay. I don't know if in your area you've had this phenomenon or not. And I don't even know if it's illegal in your area. It's not technically illegal in my area, but it is frowned upon. And if you call the police about this situation, they supposedly will follow up on it. And what I'm talking about is door-to-door canvassers, people looking for money. Okay, bad time to look for money, especially for cash. I don't know about you, but I don't have cash. I have $30 in my wallet. I have had that same $30 in my wallet for 9 months, since March. I pay for everything by credit. Well, of course, I'm doing all my shopping online primarily. I'm not doing shopping online for food. I could. We have. So we do go out for that. That's an essential service. But I don't even use cash there. I use my credit card. I'm the kind of person who does not like to use my credit card except when I'm buying something online or or when I actually have to, because of the way I do my finances. So I never have cash on me. So when these people come to the door looking for a donation or trying to sell me something, I say no, first of all, right off the bat, because I can't give them anything. I'm certainly not going to give them my credit card with that. But here's the problem. We had one person, a lady, come to the door. Walter answered it, and she supposedly was selling chocolate bars for cancer research. One, she was not wearing an identification badge. They do now. Charities, like viable charities, or legal charities, whatever you want to call it, wear an identification tag. Yes, those can be forged, but if they're wearing it, then okay, it means they're one step closer to legitimacy. Walter didn't really let her finish her spiel, but she seemed to be suspicious in what she was doing. We think it was a scam, because apparently we've had reported or we've seen on the news that there are people doing that, selling chocolate bars or something like that. Supposedly the money's going to a charity. Most charities now, I don't think, are doing door-to-door canvassing of any sort. Even the Salvation Army have a Wi-Fi connection to their donation drums. They don't even have, you don't even put cash in them anymore. And I think this is kind of clever, the Salvation Army's part, although I have a lot of issues about Salvation Army, but that's for another day. And I think maybe way back I talked about those, like way back. But anyways, you just tap your credit card and it automatically takes $5 or puts $5 on your credit card, sort of a thing for them. So they're not even bothering having people standing there, which, yes, I think that's right. That prevents transmission of this horrible disease. So, other ones like cancer or all the other ones, heart and stroke and that, if they're soliciting for money, they're doing it via the mail or by email or by phone. They are not doing it from door to door. So Walter had heard about this and the scam, and so he did call our local police station. And they said, great, they would check it out. And they said, if you have any others like that, please give us a call as soon as it happens, because we'll send a patrol car around to check this out or whatever. So obviously, there's a problem here with scammers. Well, a couple of nights later, doorbell rings. Now, when I hear the doorbell ring, okay, and we bought a Ring doorbell specifically to see who's at our door now. You know, it's that video camera. And there was two young people standing out there, young as in probably mid-20s. One had a guitar around her neck. The other one was holding a sock, a Christmas sock, like a boot-style Christmas sock, right? Okay, you know what's happening here. They're looking for money. I don't know these people. So I answered the door. They did have masks on. Actually, they pulled their masks right up as soon as I answered the door. Good. But they turned around and said, yeah, we're carolers. Would you like us to sing you a carol? And I knew what they're looking for is a donation afterwards. Now, they weren't saying they were collecting money on behalf of any organization. I think they were just trying to take advantage of a situation, Christmas time, people's sense of generosity then, and to make some cash. Well, they didn't look poverty-stricken to me. I think this was a bit of a scam. I don't think it was a serious scam, but nevertheless, I just turned around and I don't give an explanation. They said, would you like us to carol? And I went, no, thank you, goodbye, and closed the door. Well, Walter didn't call that one into the cops because at the time it happened, I didn't think to tell him, like he was busy doing something or whatever. And then I got thinking about maybe should call the cops, and he said, yeah, well, it's a little late now because they want you to call immediately when it happens, you know, so they can find these people and question them, right? And this was like 20 minutes later or something like that when I told him. So yeah, we missed that opportunity. But you know, really, let's talk about these scammers. If someone comes to your door looking for a donation right now, at least here in my area, shut the door. Or don't answer it. Get yourself a Ring. They're great. You can see right on your phone who's at the door, and you can make a decision whether you're going to the door or not. So it keeps you safe. But, you know, COVID at the beginning of it all brought out the best in humanity. I think the best of humanity is getting a little tired. Rightly so. And I think now what it's bringing out is the worst of humanity. People trying to take advantage of this situation for personal gain. Yes, that happens throughout time in the world all the time. There's scammers out there, we know it. But really, and especially at Christmas time, where people are thinking about others, you know, we all get that nice warm fuzzy feeling that we should be doing something for the unfortunate. But these people are not the unfortunate that are doing this. Okay? They're trying to take advantage of the situation. And I am very happy to hear that the police are trying to do something about it. I mean, right now they're overtaxed as it is, are any of the frontline workers during this whole crisis. But you know, that's great. And even if they don't catch these people, even if there isn't much they can do except warn them, because I really don't think, unless they can get them on theft or something, I don't know. I don't think there's much they can do in the law. They just put a scare into them. But, you know, I'm glad to see that they're doing something about it. Just makes these people maybe think twice. Then again, maybe not. Now, one thing I have found, speaking of scammers during COVID, that seems to have died down a little bit, thank goodness, are the calls that I get for duct cleaning and that your credit card has been compromised. They're scam calls as well. There seems to have been lately, at least for us, less of them. I mean, we've actually had a week or two go by where we haven't had one of those calls. So maybe COVID got them. I don't know. And you know, I say that and I mean it. Yeah, really. Those ones that are trying to take your money from other countries or whatever, the scamming them, they deserve to die. I mean, they're a waste of oxygen. They really are. And no, I mean, I know that people have tough times and they'll do anything during tough times to make ends meet and all that kind of stuff. But no matter how tough the times are, you don't need to resort to exploiting other people. I don't think. Anyways. Okay, I'm saying that from a, privileged, middle-class, white, cisgendered, gay male. Which apparently people don't like us because we're entitled. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. So, I digress. So anyways, watch out for the door-to-door scammers right now. Now, I wonder what they would have said if I had played into it and said, well, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash to give you. Yeah, I wonder what I would have got out of that. Probably would have got, oh, okay, thank you, never mind, bye-bye. Because unless they whip out one of those, what do they call them, a square or something that's attached to your phone and you can tap into the cellular system and run a credit card through it. Whoa, that would be high-tech scamming, wouldn't it? Well, I don't know. But just beware of this kind of thing, and it's just sad that we have people in our society who are taking advantage of people during a time when we're all vulnerable. Okay, so that takes us to my product review, and I do have a new thing. I ordered this in October. It became available the 1st of December. It was all paid for. This was expensive, and it arrived 2 days before Christmas. Now, it didn't matter to me that, whether I got it at Christmas or after Christmas. That didn't matter at all. It was interesting watching the tracking on this because it did a lovely little trip through the United States and parts of Canada. But I finally got it, and it's heavy. And here it is. It is called the Encyclopedia of Pieced Quilt Patterns. This is every bloody block that's ever been created. And it's an index. So you can find these and identify what they are. This is the 3rd edition, I believe, of this book. It was started by one lady way back. I think her name is Barbara Brackman. She started on index cards way back in, I don't know, the 70s or even the 60s or something like this, trying to keep track of all the different blocks and their names and things like this. And the beauty of this book is I can go through it and find interesting blocks that I might want to create in a quilt. But the other thing, this is put out by Electric Quilt, which is the company that creates Electric Quilt that I have, and it allows you to design quilts and things like that. And I think they're coming out with a companion piece of software that works with Electric Quilt that you can go in, and Electric Quilt will then tell you how much fabric you need, draw you out the design for cutting and things like that. And it works with this book. So this is really a lifetime type of work for this lady who put it together, because look at the thickness of this and the way she identifies everything. So I thought this was an investment that a serious quilter should have, because it's never going to go out of date. There might be another edition where she has added a few more to it, but really this has got something like, I don't know if she says how many are in here. I think there's something like 5,000 or something. Yeah, I don't know. I can't quickly find it, but I know I read it in here somewhere, the number that is here. But it is a great number. So if you're a quilter, or you know somebody's a quilter, this would be a great thing to have or to give. However, I'll warn you, it is expensive. Now, I think I paid, well, in American money, if you're in the States, I think it was like $60. But by the time I got it, the shipping and the exchange rate into Canadian money, it cost me just slightly under $100. So it's an expensive book. But I think it's well worth the money to have it. Okay, and that's all I bought new this week. Well, I bought some filament, but you'd be bored with that. So, speaking of that kind of thing, let's talk first of all, about books. I found another Tim Holtz book, and it's part of a series that he put out, and it's called A Compendium of Curiosities. Now, I think there are 3 books in this series, and I'm pretty sure I have all 3. And what it is, well, first of all, it's created in Tim Holtz style. See all the grunge look and the whole bit with it. And inside, he has ideas, techniques, and a gallery. Of course, it's selling his products, a little personal note, supposedly, by Tim himself. And just as an aside, I did meet Tim Holtz in person and took a workshop with him several years ago, quite a few years ago now. And I have to say that Tim Holtz, when you see him on his videos, that kind of thing, he is exactly the same way in real life. He's a very genuine person and very creative, very talented, and very humble too. So anyways, just an aside about Tim Holtz, because I have met him. He is one of my heroes. Anyways, he tells you how to use it's his products, but he shows you all kinds of interesting ideas for setting up different things, scrapbook pages, albums, tags, whatever, you name it. So, if you're a real Tim Holtz enthusiast, then this is a must-have. Is it easy to get? Actually, I don't even know if they still print them or not. I have a feeling they don't, but it was available on Amazon, amazon.ca. So if it's on amazon.ca, it's probably on amazon.com. And amazon.ca says it's $21.54, plus there would be shipping, but the shipping might be free. It depends on who the third-party seller is. It was listed originally as $19.99 in Canada and $19.99 in the USA, which is kind of interesting. So really, the price has not changed that much, by a couple of bucks plus shipping. So I think it's a great reference tool, and it's a great idea creator as well. Plus, you might have some Tim Holtz tools that you use for one thing, but maybe this will show you how to use them for some other things. That doesn't hurt. After all, Tim Holtz's products are not really cheap. They're an investment, so you want to get the most out of them, and something like this might help you with that. Okay, so the link for that is in the show notes below. And that takes us to my new segment called the 3D Corner. As I said, I did buy some new filament, but what I bought was called transparent filament. Now, I'm going to show you an example here in just a second of what this is like. But I got this because there are quilting templates that you can print out. And I did print out a set, and I'm trying to do something with them, and I'm going to talk about those in more detail on the Idiot Quilter as opposed to here, because of course that's a little bit more specific to that channel than it is to this one. But is it really transparent? It's more translucent, and here's an example of what I'm talking about. I made this. It's a spool holder. I had a little problem with it, though. I kind of wrecked it over on this edge, but that was my fault, not the fault of the printer. And you can sort of see through it, but it's like frosted glass, so it's not crystal clear. Now, there is a filament called clear, and I saw that when I ordered this, and I didn't know what the difference between the two. I don't know if clear means really, really clear. I'm going to have to investigate that further and maybe order a roll of the clear and see if it is, because it would be nice to find something that you can actually see through, because that would work in all kinds of different applications. But anyways, I got that. I'm getting quite a stock of filament. It's kind of like scrapbook paper and fabric now. So what else? Okay, I talked last week about the little tool, and I think I put up a little video clip showing you that I printed that actually uses 3 Sharpie pens. You put it into this holder, filament runs through it, and it colorizes the filament. And it doesn't do a half bad job. Well, I did another experiment. Instead of using white filament, I put yellow filament in, and I put in I think a purple, a red, and an orange or something like that, a Sharpie into it, and this is what I got. I got stripes. Isn't that cool? I got stripes. So that's kind of interesting. And what makes this really interesting is this creates a design element, because really, with the exception of the rainbow filament, which I've already explained doesn't work all that well on smaller pieces because you don't get the change in color frequently enough, you can get that change of color by doing this. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now, I'm going to show you how it works. I don't think I did put in a video last week. I'm getting my weeks muddled up now. That's why I keep notes. But I had a little video showing how this thing works and creates something like this. So I'll put that in here. You may wonder what this strange looking apparatus is attached to my 3D printer. Well, I saw this on a YouTube video. Somebody created this little holder for Sharpies. And the idea is that your filament goes down through the center of this, where it comes into contact with 3 Sharpies. And right now I have purpley colored Sharpies in there. And what it does is on transparent or clear or white filament, it colorizes it. Now the color isn't as bold as it would be if you actually used a colored filament reel. But as you can see, it's feeding down into my extruder. And right now I'm printing this object here, and I've already printed a blue and a red, and the purple has not yet traveled down into this, but you can get multiple colors or a custom color by blending your Sharpies for your needs. Now the color is not too bad though. It's not vibrant, it's more of a pastel, but yeah, this is an experiment, and we'll see what this final product looks like when it's done. But it's got a while to go here. According to my software, it says it's got about another 4 hours and 15 minutes before this piece is done. And I'm going to go ahead and every so often replace the Sharpie markers with a different color, just to see what will happen. So here's the result of my Sharpie coloring marker, whatever you want to call it, trick that I did. And I altered the markers partway through the various layers of this little stand. And you can see I started with blue, and it did come out relatively blue. And then it went into red, and then I did some pinky color, and then I did a bit of green. I was just trying to see if I could change the colors of this, you know, as it printed through. Actually, I'm pretty impressed by what you can do with, you know, white filament and Sharpie markers, given that 3D printed little holder that I found. Now, you might wonder, what is this strange little device right here? Well, it's meant to hold one of these. And what is this? This is called a lithophane, which is basically an etched picture into a piece of plastic, and that's me in the etched plastic. And you put a light in behind it, and right now I've got the light reflecting off my white cutting mat, but you can see the idea. So you can put these in a window, natural sunlight will make them appear. They look sort of like a negative, and you can do any picture, and it's not very difficult to make at all. Well, some people have designed holders for these, and this one's designed to hold an IKEA tea light, battery operated tea light, in that hole at the back, so the light would shine through. But you can see, here's my problem. Let's move this over here a little bit. Here's my problem. This lithophane, it's hard to say that word, lithophane, is a little bigger than the box. So I have a couple of choices here. I could try and alter the box so it will accommodate this size, or I can cut this down, redesign it so it'll fit in the box. But what I'm thinking is now, there are actually other ones that are better. There's ones that are very unique looking. They look like lanterns. Some look like picture frames. Some are just a square box where you put a lithophane in all 4 sides, and the tea light or battery operated LED goes down on the bottom. So this was an experiment. So I might try making something that's a little bit more legit the next time. But anyways, I'm kind of impressed with how I can color plain white filament with Sharpies. Now, Having said that, I tried one more experiment. This is the bottom of an Altoid box in plastic. I'm still experimenting with the size of these because I'm trying to get some little inserts that I found to fit in them. And the original design, the Altoid box, is a little too small. So actually I blew this one up to about, I think, 125% bigger than the size of the original, and now it's too big. So I got to hit a happy medium. But you'll notice something. I used yellow filament for this, but I have these stripes, and that's because I put a couple of Sharpies. I think I put a red one, a purple one, and a blue one in the little holder, and as it printed out, it printed me these colored stripes, which I think is kind of cool. Very nifty. So, you know, there is an alternative to using just a plain solid color of a filament. So I'm still learning, and we'll see what I come up with next. More experiments. So another thing that interests me, now what I've been doing is I've been going through something called Thingiverse. Thingiverse seems to have the most selection of free downloadable patterns, or models they call them, for your 3D printer. And I'm looking for things that are going to challenge what the printer can do. I mean, it's one thing to make something like this. This is flat. Basically, it's a box. But what about things with moving parts? Now, in some cases, you can download models that you have to buy or have extra parts, or like you have to have hinges, or you have to have ball bearings or something like that. But there are some where they do it all right with the plastic. And one I found that was really interesting, and I was curious to see how it would work, was a telephone stand, a cell phone holder. And here it is. It prints this out flat in one piece, just like this as you see it. But it's collapsible or foldable. So what you do is, it just pops out like this. This is a little bracket with grooves on it, and this little piece adjusts the angle. And you have about 5 different adjustments. This little piece folds down, and that holds your cell phone. So, like this. Let me get this so I don't drop the cell phone. Just like this. Get my hand out of the way. It works great. I liked it so much, and Walter saw it, and I said, "You want one?" He says, "Sure." So I made him one too. And the other thing I found with this design, I don't know what would happen if I made it bigger so it would hold a tablet. That idea just came to my head now. If I blew it up a little bit, maybe. Ooh, new experiment. But that's what I'm doing. I'm experimenting with these things. But I thought this was really cool. And guess what? It fits in an Altoid tin. So now my brain is going, oh, fun gifts. What can you get in an Altoid can that you can make? I'm seriously, I'm looking at that. I'm actually keeping notes on my computer about these ideas I have and experiments I want to conduct. So that was one experiment to see if this truly was foldable, could be made all in what they call one sitting, one printing, and it works. So I did create something else that has its own hinges. It's another box. So you see here, these are the hinges. This printed like this, flat, the whole 2 pieces, so it was in one printing. I didn't have to print several parts and assemble them. It was all assembled. It came off the bed just like that, and bang. And this doesn't really have a catch on the front, so, you know, it doesn't stay closed. But, you know, I look at these as the basic form, and I can decorate them with something. I'm going to show you what I mean in just a second. But I can also blow this up into something a little bigger. Now, I think I could make this big enough to hold a pair of glasses. Or other things. For some reason, I'm into boxes. I like boxes. I don't know why. Okay, so those are some of the things. Now, I said about decorating them. Okay, let me just show you something right here. This is an Altoid tin that I printed, and so is this. And what I did was I did paint pouring. Shout out to Studio of MM. She's been doing this for a while, making these kind of boxes, but making them as paint palettes. And she's been doing a lot of paint pouring on her lids, and they're fantastic. And then she resins them. These are not resined, and I don't know if I'll bother to resin them either. But I thought these turned out pretty cool. These were just an experiment. The one problem I'm having is with the lids. The lids, I've actually waxed them on the inside. There's something called cold wax that you can use, and you hit heat into it and rub it sort of in. And it doesn't come off or anything, but it does make the lids slide a little better. And I did do a little bit of filing on the inside just to make it, because when it came off the printer and I put it together, I was going, trying to get the lid off. Now, it's a little easier. But what I'm doing right now as we speak is I'm printing out a lid that is 1% bigger than the original size, just to see if it'll loosen it up. I don't know. It's another experiment. And then I created gears from copper filament. They look like metal, but they're plastic. And there are several, very difficult to show you here. There are several sizes. And my idea again is they're very steampunkish. So my idea again is you could decorate the lid of one of these boxes with some of these gears, and kind of the thing you would do if you were making an album. And that's another thing. These could hold a little album as well. So I'm going to print out probably later today more of these. I'm going to print them out in golden and gray metal look. And I'll just play with them and see what I can do with it. But I think they'd look really good. Now this is all probably going to drop off, but I'm going to try and hold this. Nah, I can't do it. Well, wait, maybe I can. See what I'm talking about here? Okay, that's as far as I can do it. Okay, so now another thing I wanted to try was a figurine, and I found one of Snoopy as World War I flying ace, you know, that he always used to do, where he sits on his doghouse, the scarf is blowing out from behind him, and everything. Well, I had some success with Snoopy. There he is. He's cute. But when he came off the printer, he didn't look like this. He was surrounded by what are called supports, because there's pieces of him in space. Now the problem is I'm just learning how to add supports, and I overdid the supports, so he essentially came out as a block of plastic, and I had to pull the supports off, and that was a bit tedious. And then I pulled off his head. I just glued his head back on, so it's okay. I've just noticed now though I am missing, he did have scarf pieces that came out here, but I guess when I was pulling off the supports I pulled those off too, because they were relatively thin. I was going to print his doghouse, but his doghouse takes about 16 hours to print. I started to print it. Again, it had to have supports, and I had a little problem, and I didn't go back to it. And I don't know if I will. It's not that important to me. But this was an experiment to see what figurine printing's all about, and I guess now I know, put as few as supports as you can on something, you know, to make it print, because they're a bitch to pull off afterwards. But I have done a little video showing the creation of Snoopy here and about those supports and what I had to do. Okay, so believe it or not, this is actually Snoopy as the World War I flying ace, and it doesn't really look like Snoopy completely here, because you see there's all these little pieces attached to him, and these are called supports. And the idea is I take him off the bed, and I'm supposed to be able to remove those supports, and I'll get my full figure. So that's what I'm going to do now, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so I've removed all of the supports, and there was a lot of supports. But it all came out pretty cool, except for Snoopy's head. I broke off Snoopy's head, but I think I can re-glue that on top of that with a little bit of Gorilla Glue. So I'm going to try that. Okay, so there's Snoopy with his head on. I've glued his head back onto his body. Now I'm going to print out his doghouse, and his doghouse has less supports, so that should go better. As long as I've got my bed level, it should stick okay, but it's going to be a 16-hour print, so I'm going to have that going all night long. So that takes us to events in the past week. Update on my mother and the mystery of the missing quilt. Last week I told you that I tried to swap out her quilt and I couldn't find the old quilt, and so we're on the hunt for it. Well, I got a call, actually an email from the administrator, and said they found the quilt. It was rolled up and put in her closet. So my way of thinking was, I guess they must have washed it and that's where they put it and never got back on her bed. End of mystery. Great. Wonderful. Not really. So on Christmas Day, I did a Zoom call with my sister and we were talking about my mother, and my sister said, are you sure that that's the actual quilt, or is it the quilt you took over to swap it out with? And I went, oh, that is a possibility. Because since I can't actually physically go into her room, I was relying on them to do it. Now, the lady that took the quilt from me was in a bit of a hurry because she was going off her shift, and looked like she had things to do, and that's okay. So I have a feeling, or the possibility, that the quilt that I took to my mother got put in the closet, and the administrator saw that quilt there, thought it was the missing quilt, and that's what she reported was there. So this week when I talked to my mother, I'm going to have to ask my mother, what's on your bed? Is there a quilt on your bed? And which quilt is it? Now, I never know if my mother knows what the heck she's talking about. So what I may have to do after I've had that conversation with my mother is I'm going to have to call over to the nurse's station on her floor and ask them to go in and physically look at and take a picture of the quilt that's on my mother's bed and send it to me, because that's the only way I'm going to know for sure. All of this is giving me a little bit of anxiety because I don't want to bother the staff about this issue. This is not the most important thing they have to worry about over there right now. They're trying to keep everybody safe. You've heard me say that before. So I don't like being a bother. But on the other hand, I want to make sure that my mother has her things. So I guess I'll have to do that. Now, speaking about calling my mother, I did, for the first time, a FaceTime call with my mother last week. I had originally reserved a time slot back before they went back into lockdown to total lockdown to visit my mother in a way, by appointment. They had it all safe and set up. We did that once in August, and we did that again in October. And so my sister and I were going to go over on the 22nd of December, take her Christmas gifts and the whole bit, visit with her then and all of that. Of course, that got shut down because they've gone into total lockdown, as we all have in Ontario now. And so can't do that. But they said, would you like a FaceTime instead? And I thought, well, okay. Now I figured this is not going, my mother go, I can't see you, I can't hear you, whatever. Of course, the one advantage was the staff were setting it up. My mother didn't have to do anything. So I arranged for it at the time appointed. My phone rings. There's my mother. It was a good connection. She could see me, she could hear me, I could hear her, I could see her. The staff had set it up for her and looked after it. She wasn't in her room, so I didn't get a chance to look around her room because they had her in another part of the nursing home that had a stronger connection, I guess, to their Wi-Fi, which is fine. So I kind of like doing that. So they have a reservation system set up online so that you can book a time and a date to do a FaceTime. And then they call you at that time and set it all up. So I thought, I'm going to try that for a while with my mother. Because, one, I can see her, she can see me. Two, I don't have to keep trying to get a hold of her because the staff are calling me with it. So I don't have to worry about her trying to answer her phone and everything. So I'm going to try that and see how that works out. Also, it means like with the first FaceTime call that we had last week, I could like show her the Christmas tree. I could show her some of the Christmas decorations, things like that, because, you know, I can walk around the house with my phone and show different things. So, you know, I think that makes it a little bit more interesting for her as well. So that's what we're going to try. Technology can be a wonderful thing. We're certainly finding that out during this COVID thing. Okay, so Christmas Day, like everybody else, well, maybe not like everybody else. I've heard reports where people were still gathering on Christmas Day. Enough said about that. We did not. It was just Walter and I. Christmas Day was not that exciting. However, we did do, as I've already mentioned, we did do a Zoom call with my sister and her family, and that was nice. But also, I was on a Zoom sewing day or sewing retreat with the Canadian Men's Quilting group that's on Facebook. I've been on sewing days with them before, virtually, and it's kind of nice. And so Walter joined in on that too. There weren't a lot of us, but it was kind of something to do, rather than just staring around, staring at your four walls or watching television. And that's how I got a lot of that done on that day during that. So that was something. That was kind of nice. But we had a nice dinner. We had a turkey roll and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I did scalloped potatoes, and I had turnips and carrots, and roasted turnips and carrots. And, you know, Walter made a lemon meringue pie. It was a very calm day. So it was okay. It was okay. I mean, if it had been a normal year, we probably would have had Walter's sister and her family and that over for dinner, and possibly my sister as well, or we might have been over at my sister's or whatever. But really, Christmas Day isn't that big a thrill for us anymore. Anyways, you know, Christmas is for kids. I've heard that said many times when I was much younger, and now I get it. It really is. Christmas is something for the kids. As adults, well, you know. But I hope you had a good Christmas, and I hope more than just a good one, I hope you had a safe one as well. It was also our anniversary last week. I mentioned that last week on the vlog, 37 years together. And we had a nice dinner. Walter got out the sous vide, and he did surf and turf. So we had a nice piece of beef tenderloin, filet mignon, and lobster tails that we had purchased. Boy, they weren't cheap, and they weren't that big. But, you know, it's a special occasion, so we splurged a little bit. We had some champagne, and we just had a nice dinner. And so that's what we did on our anniversary. So tonight we're celebrating our anniversary with a special dinner, and we're starting off with a little cocktail. And those of you that joined us for Stephen and Walter live Christmas Zoom party, or Zoom Christmas live party, or Zoom live Christmas, whatever it was called, will recognize this cocktail. This is the Cosmopolitan, which is red cranberry juice and vodka, and what else is it? Lime juice?
Triple sec and lime juice.
Triple sec and lime juice. And while we're enjoying our cocktails, dinner is cooking in the sous vide, and we're having surf and turf. So in there we have got
beef tenderloin.
Beef tenderloin, and later, are you going to do the lobster tails and that too?
Yeah, I'm going to do it, but I have to do it later because they can't be in there as long as the beef.
Oh, okay. So we're having surf and turf, and in those paper towels are baked potatoes, or potatoes ready to bake. We bake them in the microwave. And what are we having for veggie?
I don't know yet.
Oh, it's a surprise veggie.
Probably broccoli.
Oh, okay, broccoli. Broccoli again.
Unless you want something else.
No, broccoli's fine because I like broccoli. Broccolis are good. So, yeah, this is a leisurely meal. So I'll show you what things look like as they get done. So we're having a couple of little nibblies before dinner. And these are some little, well, I don't know what they are, but we bought them at the grocery store. And I think they're, what were these? Feta and red pepper?
Roasted red pepper.
Roasted red pepper in sort of a pastry. And actually, they may not look the most appetizing in the world, but actually they're kind of tasty. We had them the other day.
Yeah.
Tried them, and they're okay. We're just having a couple each because we don't want to spoil our dim-dims. So here's our anniversary dinner. And we have The lobster tails are here. And we have green beans and mushies. And we have our filet mignon and baked potato. And accompaniments, we have béarnaise sauce served in this very fancy dish.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find the gravy bowl.
We have drawn butter. We're going to pretend it's drawn butter. It's just butter, melted, but it's drawn butter for the lobster tail. And we have some fresh bread in the basket over there. And the white stuff is actually tzatziki, not sour cream, because I like tzatziki on a baked potato every now and then. So we've got all this delicious food, and all of it was cooked by Wally. So this is what Wally cooked this week, the anniversary dinner. And there is a pie, a lemon meringue that he made from scratch. I'll show you a picture of that. And now for dessert, Walter's lemon meringue pie. He said it kind of split. Where did it split?
Right there.
Oh, there it is. It's split. Oh well. It'll still taste fine, I am sure, as he cuts into it. Walter makes his own pastry. Whole pie is from scratch. He did not make this pie from a lemon pie filling mix. He made it right from fresh lemons. He's very particular about that. He insists it has to be made from fresh lemons. So it better be lemony. And will the first piece actually come out?
Oh, it seems to.
Oh, we're having a technical problem. Oh no. And the first piece never comes out right, but we'll see. Of course, he has to find the thing. What do you call those things? That's the thing. Pie lifter. There's another name for them.
Pie lifter.
Pie lifter. There's another name for it, and I know what it is. I can't think. Oh, here we go. Here we go. First piece. First piece. Ooh, it came out, and it looks
not bad.
Looks close up on the pie. Looks delicious. Yum, yum. Okay, so that's what Wally cooked this week. Now, again, if this had been normal times, we probably would have gone out somewhere to dinner. Probably would have gone to the Keg, our favorite restaurant, and had actually the same thing. This way it was a little cheaper. That's one thing. Yeah. And the next thing that's coming up is, I guess that's where I am now, right? Okay, so we've got New Year's Eve coming up. Well, Roddy-rod. We don't do anything on New Year's Eve anyways. Sometimes go on YouTube and watch fireworks from, around the world. Like we start with Australia and that moves its way along to Europe and then eventually to us, kind of a thing. I do have the opportunity to do a sewing evening with my guild. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet or not, because I really feel I should be spending New Year's Eve with Walter. Although he could join the sewing thing too. But I don't think I will do it. They talk at, sew until you drop kind of a thing. They're going to start it at 7 o'clock that night, and it'll run right through past to midnight, and, kind of like, as long as you want to be there, you can be there. And the next day they're going to do another one on New Year's Day. Now that one I think I will take part in as well. Although traditionally on New Year's Day, I usually take down my Christmas decorations. Actually, I'll probably do both because the sewing day won't start until about noon. I'll be up way before then, and I just like to get them down because then I can clean. Because then I need to clean the house, but not on that day. Probably the next day. But whatever. So that's about all that's coming up. Yeah, and I have my art journal group. We will be meeting virtually as we do the first Sunday of every month, and we have a new member that's joining us for it. So new blood in the group. So that'll be interesting. And of course, as I've already mentioned, the Craft and Chat Zoom retreat on Wednesday, January the 6th at 1 o'clock. So it's not this coming Wednesday, it's a week from this coming Wednesday. And the link is in the show notes, and it'll be in the show notes in the vlog next week, and it'll probably be in Stephen and Walter's live on Sunday in its show notes. And if I put up an idiot quilter, I'll try to remember to drop it in there too. So there'll be lots of areas you can go to get the link if you're interested in joining us. Yeah, so that's about all that's coming up this week. Now, final note here before I sign off. Sorry, it is about COVID. We are now, as you heard me mention earlier, in Ontario, we are now completely locked down. All areas. The only things that are open are essential businesses. Anything that sells food and your drugstores, that kind of thing. Now, businesses can still offer delivery pickup service or curbside service as well. So we're back to where we were last April, kind of a thing. We should have been in this sooner. Our cases are on the rise, rapidly on the rise, and they delayed too long. And they delayed for one reason and one reason only, because of economics. That's it. And I'm not going to get into the whole discussion of that because I've discussed it before. But needless to say, we're now in lockdown. And I suspect that come about the middle of January, our cases are going to go sky high, because I know there are people who, for whatever reason, because they rationalized it, got together with other people that were not part of their household for Christmas, and they're going to do it for New Year's too. And they're stupid. They are stupid. Fine example of the stupidity, Alberta. Alberta has not had lockdown until about now. They're not wearing their masks out there, a lot of them. And on Boxing Day, they were lining up. It was on the news. They were lining up for sales at stores. Stupid people. I mean, I am not going to say anything nice about them, because there's nothing to say nice about stupid people. How can you be nice about stupidity? You can't. It's stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So there you go. So what I'd like to say is, if you are in an area that is in lockdown, do it. Do it. There's a new strain of this out there yet. They haven't told us whether or not the vaccine will be effective with it or not. We're not done. So I hate to bust your bubble here, but everybody's been going, oh, thank God, New Year's is coming up. We're out of 2020 and into 2021. Yay. As if at the stroke of midnight, December 31st, this is all going to go away. It's not. It's not. I'm sorry. I wish it would. I really do. But it's not. So let's not kid ourselves. We're still in this battle. We still have to do what we're being told to do. And we have to take it serious. So I hope you will. So until next week's vlog, I want you to stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, stay in. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.